I guess I want to just kind of flesh out what I was getting at with more analogy or and different concerns about things because it is kind of important to me. Um, yeah, yeah. If somebody can't see a difference of kind in terms of something like grappling, which might be equivalent to street fighting as a technique, and football as as it's seen and known and performed with all the lights, sound, media, crowd, money, uh, goals, rules, referees watching, people analyzing rules, players, multiple players with similar objectives, but multiple players doing different things, coordinated but different things, with a pinpoint on a quarterback who's calling the shot for that particular play, and people, uh, the serfs or the slaves or the protectors doing different things, the objectors, the warriors. That's why it has all this, and that's why I made the comparison, is to say it seems to me that this is a different of kind, and so I would want somebody, if you think that the difference between grappling and football is a different in degree because, hey, we're humans. I'm still the thing is still the big the paradox is that these people are human and that they do talk, and that in as much as they talk, that their words can be translated, that there is some feedback, there is some commonality in that they talk. And so this is what I meant by even the question of difference of degrees and different of kind, in some respect, is the perspective you want to put on it. I don't want to be accusatory. I'm not trying to be demeaning to somebody that's, you know, doing well in their field and this is the perspective and they're caught up within it. I'm simply suggesting the same thing that Daniel Everett was suggesting, that this kind of pulls the carpet out from underneath certain perspectives, and I think it needs to be looked at. But then I don't want to belabor this. I think I've spent way too much time on it, and if Anton ultimately doesn't want to get involved in what he would consider a degenerate topic or something that would require the rewriting of his ubiquitous claims of what humans are and these supposed facts, and his supposed knowledge of linguistics. I mean, his reading list is also caught up with the writers that make a lot of these same assumptions. But the Piraha they don't have globes, they don't have maps, they don't have godheads, they don't have puns. I mean, I think throughout my videos I've mentioned this. Um, and they don't have recursion. They don't have reiterability, where you're able to nest an idea within another idea. And they're saying due to that they don't have the counting. But basically, what I'm thinking is that kind of like this. Here's let's. In Egypt, you have pyramids that are pointing upward, and it's kind of like levels of a hierarchy. And this is like humans that are first speaking, but they're using glyphs on a wall to speak. They're written all over the place, and they're painted, and they're colorful. And they have a pharaoh that's over all of these civilian citizens. And you have edicts, and you have law, and you have war, but you have a hierarchy. And then consider the Star of David as being a pyramid up and a pyramid down, the inverted pyramid, and that Moses escaping from Egypt, developing into Israel, and the sort is a declension from the hierarchy. Like we're not only, before we replace your authority, this way God is, we're going to invert the pyramid, and we're going to have a declension, a downward stroke, or downward pyramid. And so this is where we came from, is the upward pyramid, and the declension is the downward pyramid, and that's going to be our star, the Jewish star, those who escape the hierarchy before they bring in a new authority, a new testament, so to speak. Anyway, that's just something to consider. So what I think is happening with so many people that they're not following a hierarchical structure. They're not raised in it, or they're not, even just atheists in general might be considered to be people that don't want a rule, a hierarchical rule, whether or not they've inherited, whether it's imbued a tonality in their being by being in this culture. So much is caught up in that, and I'm aware of that. And so I think a lot of where Anton sees decadence, sourpusses. He's using a different word than sourpuss, but yeah. A lot of people that are stalled in their thoughts, and I don't know what to say about it. It's as if they're caught up and they see their life and they say, "Oh man, I have to eat and shit and breathe, and I've got this people asking me to do things, and the school system around me, and I don't know what to do. I'm so confused, and I got a guy over here saying get with the program. I've got sports to do, homework to do, friends to keep, an agenda, everything's under time, management, so forth." And then you get the people that are just like, "God, I cannot or do not want to do that. I am a human being. I am a breathing, shitting human being, and all I want is food and some creature comforts, and I want everything else to be left alone." And then, they get older and they miss out. Oh, all these other people are doing really well, or, God, these other people are doing really poorly, or they sure got in on something. So I guess what I'm getting at is that it's kind of like watching when I watch Gary. I'm like, and a lot of people, I'm like, wow, they've experienced a type of uh, identification with their being human. Like, look, I'm just gonna say, it's all about consumption, and if I was lucky, it would have been about reproduction. But basically, I just want to consume. I want to have comfort and not pain, and I'm gonna die. And it's all so miserable. I can't believe I even was here at all. And so they frame it so negatively and so down. And you got William Burroughs, who kills his wife, cuts off his finger, heavy drug user, he's all over the map, he's entirely insane and mad, does the cut up. And there's a type of madness that goes through that. And yet he lives, he becomes an author, he eventually makes enough money to buy a house and gather some creature comforts. His son dies of an overdose, and he dies. Or Bukowski, heavy drinkers, people that are just like, look, I'm going to consume. There's something in my biology. This is a creature comfort. I'm okay with this. This is what it is to be human. Like, this is what it is like to be human. It's like being an animal. They're breathing, I'm breathing. It's when one empathizes with an animal so much that they're driven to become vegetarian or vegan. Like, I will no longer harm that other individual. I simply won't. I know what it's like. And they live that way. On the upswing, you have very motivated people who are trying to accomplish things. Get in where you fit in. Find your niche. Go for it. Be brave. All the morals of so many movies. You're going to go to a type of a war. This is you. You have to have a heart. You have to have a brain. You have to have courage, like in The Wizard of Oz. And there's going to be some evil, and you have to fight the evil. Be brave, because even the Wizard of Oz, this grand fear, is simply another person. It's just this old guy, and you're a younger generation, and you're inheriting this world, right? So, never fear. Underdog is here, so to speak. What to say? So I look, and then what's really weird is that, I tried to, I was like, when Anton came on originally, I was like, when I saw him go at Gary, of all people to go at Gary, I was like, you know, back off of this guy. Back off. And the reason was because Gary's living his life and he's so identified with these grounds that to gather this notion of what was or what could have been, you know, and he's secure in his blanket of determinism, like, well, it couldn't have been any other way because this is the way it's unfolded. And the notion of changing oneself so significantly as to make other choices in the future is, you know, at his age, this is the way he prefers it. It's his comfort, and he'd rather retain that. Well, for Anton, life is full of possibility. Of course, he won't have kids, apparently. His bloodline might die, so in the biblical idea of, you know, make certain you have kids, and if you don't have kids, make certain you have good works. Otherwise, you know, if you don't have kids, you don't have good works, you'll die a second death, so to speak, if your works aren't inherited to the world. So it's got to be a promotion. It's got to be. Like, I've spent all of my life going to school. I've tripped in it. I've grown my hair this long enough. I've got a great wife. She's really smart. I can downplay the whole world by saying Idiocracy is such a good movie, and pay attention to that because, you know, we might not have kids, and the smart people in that movie didn't have kids, and let's expound, let's wax over all this, let's gather the virtues and the hard work, and you know, really point out that this is my field, and like this chump showing up that does art and talks smack. I mean, who the hell is he? He's not anybody. I mean, and who's this Cropper guy showing up? I mean, of course, look, I teach college, you teach elementary school, and you know, I didn't want to say that, but you know, if he's got to fall back on his authority, he's got to do it. But my whole point isn't. I'm trying to tease out kind of an admission from Anton. I kind of want to get a psychological declaration of who he is to everybody that he's so busy like pulling around by their nose rings on YouTube. And I guess this is the way to do it, sort of, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, all I know is that there's something about losing, and losing a lot of things. Losing love, losing money, losing loved ones, losing ability. I don't believe we're in the culture of a dying. I think that you grow up as your metabolism rises. You are not dying, you are living. And you're living broadly and wildly with full of possibility. And your animal is well aware of it and alive. And you are not dying. You are dying when you start declining, slowing. Not you've lost your viv, you've lost your life. That's when you become the culture of the dying. You're not a culture of the dying before then. That is simply a perspective of wanting to deconstruct life and say life is a particular type of death, and that's it. But before deconstruction, a constructive philosophy might be, I am alive, and I am alive and well. So anyway, I mean, I agree. As a part of this culture, I've inherited this drive. And a lot of things say you must do everything you can to accomplish this. It is so, so important before you go into that good night. Make certain you're there. But I didn't like to see Anton and Gary come at odds. It's like they're polar opposites. There's got to be other people for him to compare himself to. The long hairs. Look at the long hairs. Anyway, wow. I don't know what else to say. Yeah, Piraha are a different kind of consideration. And so that paradox, and that little chuckle, oh, the people laughed in class because they didn't see the paradox. Paradox doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It's a presumptive paradox. It's a paradox for me, because I'm talking. It's a paradox for him, but his question, yeah, the notion that it was well intended is because there is an exception. I don't know how to resolve it. I don't know how Anton wants to resolve it. I just want him to maybe admit it or talk about it. That's all. Okay, I think I'm done with these videos.